So her name, she's retired. She's laying low.
Yes.
She's in her beautiful place in New York City.
Right.
And yet she's been that way for what, a year or two now?
Yeah, a couple of years.
A couple of years now. And all of a sudden I'm seeing her name blowing up on all of my social media feeds.
Right.
And it's because of a conversation she had with Corey Feldman. And it looks like that conversation took place at a time when you were there. Yes?
Yeah, this has got to be 5 years ago or something. I may have the dates wrong. Corey Feldman came on. Here's what's happening. Because of everything Harvey Weinstein, everybody is looking at the entertainment industry and sexual abuse and harassment and everything, rape, everything, anything that could be going wrong there. It's now, the doors are wide open, and that's a good thing. And so what happened is this interview got pulled out of mothballs because it was kind of startling at the time, but like a lot of things, and
this is not why Corey came on the show, right? He came on to promote or plug something. This is
what's happening. Barbara's getting in trouble for a particular line with him where she says you're damaging an entire industry. Now I want you to hear the clip because what happens is Corey's on the show. Don't drag me into this. Troy's on the show. Corey's on the show to talk about something else entirely. I want you to hear this clip because it's not the entire clip. And unfortunately, the entire clip is not out there anywhere. I searched for it. If it is, maybe somebody should send it. So you're saying people are taking something out of context? Something completely out of context and understanding how this came about in the first place. So why don't we play the clip because it's about pedophilia. Because, Corey was a big child star. Mm-hmm. Huge. And a huge child star, and he's talking about how rampant it is in Hollywood.
I'm saying that there are people that were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working, they're still out there, and they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
And they are
And they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
Are you saying that they're pedophiles?
Yes.
And that they're still in this business?
Yes.
That's what. Yeah, and that's what you were saying in your book. When you talk to when you talk to
and
parents,
they don't want me here right now. Trust
Corey,
me. They want me dead.
There are a lot of parents out here who want to put their kids in this business. Their kids are cute. They're great actors. Da, da, da. What would you say to a parent who just has the best of intentions who's coming here with their child? If you're saying that there's a lot of predators in this industry.
It's a many-feathered bird. Okay? Be careful what you wish for. That's what I'll tell you. Don't go into it with naivety. Don't go into it thinking that it's all roses and sunglasses.
You're damaging an entire industry.
Yeah, I think, by the way, that was Sherry Shepherd in the second half of that.
Who's awesome.
The lovely Sherry Shepherd.
Yeah. Corey Feldman is a bit of an odd duck, but I have to say in that conversation, he sounds so genuinely fearful and concerned. Like he genuinely, you almost hear him saying it and as if he's flashing back to actual experiences he's had. And when he said, they want me dead, that's a
well, I think that
statement.
this is kind of goes to my point. First of all, Corey's not there to promote, his, a book about how he was sexually abused as a child. He's there to promote something else. Barbara hears something in his voice. If you hear the whole clip, he says something and Barbara starts digging. As she's good at.
Great at.
And all of a sudden, this guy who was coming on to plug, I don't know, where he was making a record or something. I can't remember what the hell it was. And he starts opening up. And Barbara goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're just hearing a piece of this.
He definitely.
He basically says he feels that Corey Haim is sort of his child star partner and best friend who's. I think it was an overdose death. He believes a lot of this was tied to. By the way, some of my computer popping up everywhere because we just do this at home and like I'm in my house shoes right now, but I won't describe the rest of what I'm wearing. Anyway,
which is very little.
Thank you, very little, very little. Imagine that at home. Anyway,
when I was researching
he's talking about this pedophilia, and so what happens is Sherry says something, he answers that, and Barbara says you're damaging an entire industry. It's that line, you're damaging an entire industry, has got people just hopping mad. Now, you should know that this didn't happen without Barbara digging into it. Barbara exposed all this. Barbara made this happen. If you saw the entire interview, you would understand it. Not only is she saying you're damaging an entire industry, she's wanting him to know the depth of what he's saying. And I've been with Barbara for 1,000 years, so I can tell you this. What she's saying is you got to understand what you're saying And I want you to tell me again, this is the truth. This is what you're saying, because it's very damaging. Therefore, you got to know, because I don't want you to get hurt, and I don't want you to say something you didn't mean.
No,
that's how Barbara works.
Yeah, and I respect the fact that she's giving him a chance to make absolutely certain
exactly
you
right.
know what you're saying, because this is a significant
right.
statement.
A significant statement. If you ever saw, I don't know, any of her famous interviews, the one with Sean Connery, where he says, it's not the worst thing to hit a woman every now and then. She goes back. She says, "Now you just said, you mean that, right? I mean, so she's trying to make
There's
sure."
Been a number of times where I've heard her say to people, "And do you stand by that?"
Yes. Do you stand by that? She
wants people to sign off.
So she's saying you're damaging entire industries. You got to know what you're doing here.
So what is it the critics are saying that
the
are only
critics are
taking
saying
this out of
she
context?
should have supported him. She should have not worried about the industry and so be so concerned about the industry. Well, Barbara's not even in the movie industry. She's never done a movie. She's never even taken an acting role before, like a lot of other journalists. She never did any of that.
So as you were sitting there producing this episode,
yeah,
you had a front row seat to this, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, was this anything that was on the blue cards? Did this come out of left field? Were you guys totally taken back?
Nothing. It was completely off script. Had nothing to do with what that segment was about. And so that's all there because of Barbara. So taking Barbara on for saying one line at the end of it, which all she's trying to do is make sure it's clear what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And now, whatever it is, 5 years plus later, pulling it out of mothballs and saying, "My gosh, Barbara Walters knew and she did nothing about it." It's like so ridiculous. The whole thing is obscene. It exists. That exposure of that industry as having many pedophiles in it, which I absolutely believe, it was exposed because of Barbara's digging.
Hold on.
So lay off.
Bill Geddie, you just made a big, strong statement yourself. So let me just back up to that. So you said an industry which is filled with pedophiles, which you firmly believe.
Yes.
Do you have some backstory?
I've just talked to enough people in it who came up through the world of child stars to know that there are some, look, pick up anything about any one of these actresses, whether it's Jennifer Lawrence or anybody. They're all talking about their experiences at ages 12, 13, 14, casting calls, being asked to take off their clothes, being asked into rooms with older men. Some of them have, some of the ones that you don't know as well have horrible stories of molestation and rape. I know that this is, and all he's saying is, and it happens to the boys too. That's all he's saying. He's saying it goes, it's across the board.
So as of the moment that we're recording this podcast, nobody has specifically been named in the public media. Do you think that's going to be changing in the next few days?
Yes.
Do you think some names are going to come out?
Yes. I think you're going to see a lot of stuff happening now. I think people feel free to come out and thank goodness and say all these horrible things that have happened. I've seen a number of things here that did not have names attached to them. But even this what's her name for the Olympic gymnast who just said that her doctor molested her every time he saw her, the Olympic doctor. Now he's already in trouble, and I think he's already been sentenced for other things, but she never talked about it. It was, from age 11. Okay.
Sure. Safety in numbers.
Yeah.
So I know you're not going to put a name out here right now, but
no.
In your mind, is there a name or two that would come out that would not surprise you at all?
Yeah.
And are they major film directors type?
Directors, producers. It's funny, strangely, I don't think there are a lot of actors involved. I think the actors that were the ones who were victimized a lot.
It seems like when people think about Hollywood and we think of the casting couch, that, when I hear somebody use the phrase casting couch, I picture a young starlet and a director producer guy, and she was brought into a room for an audition and he's pushing his luck and she's trapped, and that horrible scenario that maybe Harvey is guilty of. We'll see. I've never fathomed that it was the children. Never crossed my mind that the kids would be in a place of vulnerability. I mean, how does that even happen? Who's putting their kids in a situation where that, I don't know. I mean, I've got 8 children. I wouldn't let any of them sit alone in a makeup room, let alone.
You're growing up in well, I'll pick my hometown, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and you got a daughter who loves the theater, and she's gorgeous, and she's 11 years old, and you can't talk her off of it, which is generally what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And there's a casting call comes up, and you go to Hollywood because somebody has told them somewhere, met her somewhere, and said, you've got to be in film. She's so special. And, you're just trying to fulfill your kids' dreams. I think that, yeah, there are stage moms, but for the most part, when I meet most of these mothers, Dakota Fanning's mom, for example, a lovely woman, not her nature to be in show business, but her daughter just couldn't be talked off of it. So, I think that they're victimized. Yeah.
Finally, the horrible level of immorality and double standards that the day of reckoning is coming for some of these guys. And and I do hope that the frenzy continues, and I do hope that people can. Now, what I'm worried about are innocent people being hurt in the process, being accused of things that aren't true, people using this to milk it for their own exposure, which I'm not suggesting any of the victims are doing. But I hope that genuine, authentic victims come forward.
There's something different between justice and a witch hunt. You're right. There's a major difference there. And by the way, when Woody Allen said a week ago, I don't want to see a witch hunt. I don't want to see people hauled off to jail because they winked at somebody in the office. Well, Woody,
wow.
Nobody's getting hauled off to jail for winking at someone. That's not what this is about. And this is what I find fascinating. You're talking about some people here like Jennifer Lawrence. Now, Jennifer Lawrence must be worth $100 million or something.
A lot.
I mean, she's famous around the world. She's a lovely person, by the way. I've met her a couple of times. She suddenly feels confident enough to come out and talk about this. Now, you would think, well, she's very powerful, but she doesn't feel that way. She feels that this could ruin her career, and there's safety in numbers for these women, which is a great thing. They're all coming out. They're all telling their story. Jennifer Lawrence says, I was paraded around when I was, whatever it was she was, 18 or something. She was paraded around nude and put in a nude lineup with a little piece of tape on the private parts, and this was done by a woman, by the way, woman producer or woman casting person. So, by the way, don't get fooled by this. It's all across the board. Everybody, everywhere.
Sure. Sure. Pervs are pervs.
It's not just a gross old guy like Harvey in a room saying, "Come over and give me a massage." That's just one aspect of this. There are many, many things that are demeaning that are done to these people. And they want to be stars, and they there's a nude scene in this. I need to see your body. Oh, okay. Why are we seeing my body in this hotel room? You know what I mean? There's a lot of that business has to change. By the way, a lot of the industry does business in hotel rooms. It's a common thing. Good people and bad people do business in their hotel room. And that probably needs to change.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like the right place to take you.
Not for that kind of thing, no.
Yeah. I know that there's quite a few people who listen to this podcast that are in the industry, and many of whom are friends of yours.
Yeah.
I would invite any of them who have a firsthand story or experience to privately pass it to you so that their voice can be heard if they're not interested in going public, but they think somebody should know something.
Sure.
I think they should know that you're a trustworthy guy, and that we can put that out there.
I am completely trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful,
Bill Geddie
thrifty,
is an
brave,
Eagle Scout
clean, and reverent.
It still blows my mind that you remember all of that.
Yeah, that's right.
As a ripe man of 30 years old. Well, listen, the thing that I hope comes out of this is that this morning, today, people are waking up who do have children in the business, and they are more hyper aware than they have ever been. And from this moment forward, some child is not going to have happen what has been happening for what it sounds like is decades.
I think there need to be some guidelines. It's like if your child's going to be there, then there already are some guidelines.
There's a ton of guidelines.
But A certain number of people have to be in the room. A parent, I don't know. There should always be both male and female. Sort of the stuff that happens now in doctors' offices a lot. Where you got like, why is the nurse here? Well, he's making sure I'm not a pervert. Basically, is why the nurse is here. So I think you'll see stricter guidelines about that coming up, and I understand that, and rightly so. And the industry, if they want to be smart, they'll start self-regulating now before the government does it. Do it yourselves.
So in summary for this topic, your position on Barbara Walters being drug out of retirement and drug across the coals because of a soundbite, your closing argument is
should
what?
Be no surprise that I think that Barbara Walters is simply trying to get to the bottom of something and trying to figure it out and try to get clarity on it. That's all she's trying to do. She's not defending an industry. She has no interest in defending the film industry or the TV industry for that matter. She is trying to get to the bottom of it. Barbara is an interview is naturally curious, and she wants to make sure that everything that's said is crystal clear. That's it. That's all there is.
And she's not. She or nobody in her camp is speaking out, right? There's been no official response.
No official response.
And she won't probably.
No, she's not going to respond to it. I don't think so anyway. And I wouldn't if I were her. It's silly.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's a great woman, and she's a professional at what she does. And I think that conversation happening is the fact that she even brought that topic and stayed on it and drilled into it that day with Corey Feldman.
Yeah. Wouldn't have happened otherwise.
It's right. Exactly. It's
because of her, people are being
helped.
Of children. Because of Barbara, people are being helped. There's no question about it. And good for Corey, too, for coming clean on that. It was great.
Yes, man. It sounded almost therapeutic for him.
Yeah. Yeah.